You just spent 3 hours studying. You highlighted everything. You read every page twice. You feel good about it. And then you walk into the exam and your mind goes completely blank. Sound familiar? Here is the uncomfortable truth nobody told you. You were never actually studying. You were just sitting near your textbook. And there is a massive difference between the two. Right now, most students are making the same 3 mistakes every single time they sit down to study. And those mistakes are not just slowing them down. They are actively erasing everything they think they just learned. By the time this video is over, you will know exactly what those mistakes are, why your brain keeps falling for them, and the precise steps to fix them so you never waste another study session again. Let's start with the biggest lie in education. Highlighting works. It does not. Pick up your textbook right now. If it is covered in yellow and pink and orange lines, that is not a study strategy. That is an art project. Research on learning and memory consistently shows that rereading and highlighting are among the least effective study methods available to you. They feel productive. That is the trap. Your brain sees the familiar words on the page and thinks, yes, I know this. But knowing something, when you can see it right in front of you, is completely different from being able to recall it when the page is gone and the exam paper is staring at you. You are training yourself to recognize, not to remember. And exams do not show you the answers. Think about it this way. If you watched a cooking video 50 times, would that make you a good cook? No. You would be very good at watching the video. The only way to learn to cook is to cook. The only way to truly learn information is to pull it out of your own brain without looking at it. That is it. That is the whole secret. But before we get to what actually works, let's talk about the second mistake. Because this one feels even more productive than highlighting, and it is somehow even more useless. Cramming. You already know cramming does not work long term. You have probably experienced it yourself. You stayed up until 2 in the morning, drank enough coffee to power a small engine, and stuffed every piece of information you could find into your head. You walked into the exam, you wrote it all down, and then 48 hours later, it was completely gone. Not faded, gone. Here is why. Your brain is not a storage unit. It is a survival machine, and it is constantly making decisions about what to keep and what to throw away. When you cram, your brain looks at that information and makes a very simple calculation. This person learned this in one panicked night. They clearly do not need it for anything important. Delete. But when you return to information repeatedly over days and weeks, your brain starts to notice a pattern. This keeps coming back. It must matter. Keep it. Cramming does not just fail to help you. It actively trains your brain to treat information as disposable. And once your brain decides something is disposable, getting it back is extremely difficult. Now here is where most study advice stops. It tells you what not to do and leaves you there. But you need to know what to actually do instead. So let's get into it. The single most powerful shift you can make in how you study comes down to one idea. Stop consuming. Start retrieving. Every time you read your notes, watch a lecture, or listen to a recording, you are consuming. Information goes in, but consuming is passive. Your brain barely has to work. And when your brain barely works, it barely remembers. The research on this is extremely clear. Psychologist Henry Roediger at Washington University spent decades studying how memory works. His findings showed that the act of retrieving information from memory, of actually forcing your brain to pull something out without looking at it, is dramatically more effective at building long-term memory than any amount of rereading or reviewing. Not slightly more effective. Dramatically more effective. This is called active recall. And it is the closest thing to a cheat code that learning science has ever produced. Here is how you use it. Close your notes. Close your textbook. Take a blank piece of paper and write down everything you can remember about what you just studied. Everything. Do not look. Do not check. Just pull it out. The things you can write down easily, the things you cannot, you need to study more. This single exercise tells you more about what you actually know in 10 minutes than 3 hours of rereading ever could. There is a technique that takes this even further. Physicist Richard Feynman, one of the most brilliant scientific minds of the 20th century, used a method so simple it almost sounds too easy to work. Take whatever you are trying to learn. Write it down as if you are explaining it to someone who has never heard of it before. Use simple words, no jargon, no complicated terminology. Just explain it plainly. If you get stuck, that is your gap. Go back, learn that part, and try again. Keep going until you can explain the entire thing simply and clearly. Feynman believed that if you could not explain something simply, you did not actually understand it. You had just memorized the words, and memorizing words is not the same as knowing something. But even active recall has a hidden enemy, and it is something your brain does automatically without asking you. It forgets. German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered this in the 19th century, and it has been confirmed by researchers ever since. Within 1 hour of learning something new, you have already forgotten roughly half of it. By the next day, you have forgotten most of it. By a week later, almost all of it is gone unless something brought it back. This is called the forgetting curve. And it sounds depressing. But here's the part most people miss. Every time you bring that information back before it fully disappears, your brain strengthens the memory. The curve resets, but at a higher baseline. You forget less each time. Do it enough times, and the information stops disappearing at all. This is spaced repetition. Instead of studying everything in one long, exhausting session, you spread your review out over time. You look at something on day 1, you come back to it briefly on day 3. You test yourself again on day 7. You review once more 2 weeks later. Each time your brain works a little harder to retrieve it. Each time the memory gets stronger, and each time the gap before you need to review it again gets longer. You are not studying more. You are studying smarter. You are working with your brain instead of against it. Now here's the part where most people nod along, feel inspired, and then do nothing. Because knowing what to do and actually doing it every day are two completely different problems. And the second problem is the one that actually stops people. The real reason students do not study consistently is not laziness. It is friction. Studying feels hard to start. It feels overwhelming. It feels like a massive commitment that requires you to be in the perfect mood at the perfect time with the perfect amount of energy. And since that moment almost never comes, you put it off. And put it off. Until the night before the exam, when you cram, and the whole cycle starts again. Here is how to break it. Make the start so small it is almost impossible to refuse. Tell yourself you're going to study for 2 minutes, not an hour. Not a session. 2 minutes. Open the book. Write one thing you remember from last time. That is it. 2 minutes. Because what you will find almost every time is that starting is the hard part. Once you are in it, momentum takes over and you keep going. Behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg at Stanford calls this the tiny habits approach. The size of the action does not matter. The consistency of showing up does. 2 minutes every day beats 3 hours once a week every single time. You can make this even easier by connecting studying to something you already do. After you make your morning coffee, open your flashcards for 5 minutes. After dinner, spend 10 minutes testing yourself on one topic. After you brush your teeth at night, review 3 things you learned today. You are not adding a new habit to your life. You are attaching a small study action to something your brain already does automatically. Over time, it becomes just as automatic. And when the sessions get longer and the work gets heavier, protect your focus with the Pomodoro Method. 25 minutes of complete uninterrupted concentration, phone face down, notifications off, nothing but the work. Then a 5-minute break. Then another 25 minutes. 4 rounds and then a longer break. Your brain is not designed for marathon sessions. It is designed for focused sprints. Give it what it needs and it will give you back everything you put in. Here is the closing truth. Every student who is outperforming you right now is not smarter than you. They are probably not even working harder than you. They are just doing different things when they sit down to study. They are retrieving instead of rereading. They are spacing instead of cramming. They are starting small instead of waiting to feel ready. And every one of those things is something you can do starting tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. One blank piece of paper. Everything you can remember without looking. That is your first step. And it is the same first step every high-performing student took before you. You already sat down to watch this video. That means you care. Now go use it.